Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Nayasim. Hope you are great. So, came across a video of this black woman asking Democrat Christian and liberal Christian, why is it that you all voted in contradiction to the word of the Most High God? All right. Sometimes I love to see people act really very smart, and then try to tell you that I did not tell you that I am a Republican. So she wants to know, why did you vote for party that probably support gays and other minorities' rights and the rest of it? Now, let me tell you this. The truth is that even you being a Republican with your kind of belief will probably not move me to become a Christian, because you guys make Christianity look so bad. I have never seen you people portraying Christ, because last I checked, it is love thy neighbor as thyself. But you all will say that you are God's fearing this thing, but it is you people that are out there unaliving people. You go out and unalive people, and then end up blaming it on the same people that you do not like, that is the gays, in their own words. All right. But last I checked, I rarely see those people disturb the world or go to unalive people, and it's always been the Christian, the ones that believe in God. But the same people that say they do not believe, like all these gays and all that, still turn around to go and see them. Let's get into this video.
I have a question for Christian Democrats and Christian liberals, and it is a question. So do not come in my comments being feisty. Don't do it, because we're just having a conversation. I genuinely would like to know the thought process, and I genuinely would like to see your answers to this question. How is it that you are able to justify voting for a party that is in direct contradiction to the word of the Most High and his values, how he told us to live our lives, what he told us to do, what he told us not to do, etc.? If you truly believe his words, and you believe that the word is a foundation of how we are to live our lives, how do you justify that? And some of the examples that I would use would be voting for a party that wants our children to be able to change the gender that the Most High gave them, fighting for LGBTQIA rights, all rallying behind them and being an ally to that particular lifestyle, aborting our babies when he said that he knits together the child in a womb, and that nobody is to touch what is in that womb because it belongs to him. How do you justify that? And if you are going to say because it is the lesser of two evils, I need you to open the word up and point to me where we're supposed to choose an evil in the first place. Because you could choose to do nothing. Because if you truly believe that the Most High's will is going to be done, and he is going to move in the way that he needs to be moved, he is going to handle this country and move it in the direction that he sees fit, you could choose not to compromise your values and your beliefs for a vote, for a human, for another man. You could do that. And I'm not even saying vote Republican, because we all know they have their own set of issues. But to intentionally and regularly vote contrary to your father, I need to understand how you are able to rationalize that, because I personally don't understand it. Because it feels like, and it would appear as though you are choosing worldly rules and worldly processes over who you are supposed to devote your life to and what you are supposed to devote your life to. So I won't make this very long. I just want to understand how you claim to follow and be like our Messiah when he would never compromise. He would never compromise. How have you gotten to a point where it's okay for you to compromise? Or are you too caught up in the world to where you have made that the priority over how we are supposed to live our lives? I'm curious, and I want to hear your answers. Thank you. So when addressing the video that I made yesterday to the liberal Christians, what I have learned, and I already knew it to be true, but to see it actually play out in real time is mind-boggling to me. People do not hear what it is that you're saying. They do not listen to hear everything that you said and to understand your points before responding. Most people listen to respond, and they listen with their emotions, not what's being said to them. And I know this to be true because at no point in that video did I ever state or even allude to being a Republican. Interestingly enough, when CK passed away, I actually made a video saying that Democrats and Republicans are very much alike. They're very much alike, and they don't realize it at all. But when the shoe is on the other foot, everybody is against things until it benefits them, or until it's their turn to do the thing that they don't like the other party doing. I actually made a video stating that. You can find it at somewhere. But at no point did I even allude to being a Republican. And I even went as far to say they have their own issues. But the video wasn't for them. It's like, you can't we don't know how to keep the main thing the main thing. I can't make a video talking to you specifically without you being like, well, what about them? I'm not talking about them right now. I'm asking you a very direct question. Why are we finger pointing over there? Yes, they have their own issues. No, I don't feel like the majority of them even try to align with scripture. I think they pretend to be Christian because it makes them look good. But no, I don't think a lot of them align with Christianity either. But we're not talking about them. We're talking about you. Why can't you just simply answer the question that is being placed in front of you? I don't understand. I also went as far as to say, I am in no way telling you to vote Republican. You can actually choose to do neither. And I know I mentioned that because I watched my video back several times and I made sure I made it clear. You can quite literally do neither. So why is it that the majority of their responses is defending the Democratic Party against Republicans when nobody is talking about them? Nobody is defending them. Nobody is caping for them. I am simply asking you a question about why you stand on what you stand on as someone who claims to be a follower of the Most High. Why can't you just answer that and focus on you and what I'm asking you? And another thing, we're gonna get all this out at once. If I create a video and I said I have a question for Christian Democrats and Christian liberals, why are atheists in my comments? Why are people who aren't even Christians at all in my comments giving their 2 cents? I didn't ask you. This isn't even a conversation that you need to have because you don't even believe in the book that I'm talking about. Go find videos that's for you. I'm not talking to you. And another thing, I asked y'all, don't be getting snippy dippy in my comments and in your feelings if you can't answer the question. I've gotten so many, did you even read the book? Now see, don't get on my nerves. Don't get on my nerves because we're adults. And I've noticed that social media and politics and all this programming is turning us into children. You guys communicate like children. What? I know you are, but what am I? That is what y'all sound like at 30s, 40s, and 50s. At what point do you actually grow up? Lastly, some of y'all are not being very Christ-like in my comments because you should be able to disagree with me, say your stance, and then go on about your business. But for whatever reason, we're going with insults and being funny and being real sassy in my comments rather than just having the discussion. Because if you do disagree with me, which I figured many of you would, you should just be able to say your stance, say whatever it is, and if we can have a conversation back and forth, we should be able to do that because we're grown-ups. And I know a lot of you guys have children, which blows my mind. It's how are you supposed to teach your children how to be emotionally intelligent and how to communicate like an adult when y'all don't even do it? Tighten up. What I will say though is I really do appreciate a lot of the conversation that's happening within the comments because I actually like being able to read the opinions from both sides, which is why I asked the question, because I really did want to know what your line of thought is, that is the avenue and the choice that you have made as someone who is a believer. I really wanted to know. So to actually see the conversation taking place and people who are adults and who know how to communicate as such actually state their opinions, and other people who may more so agree with me are able to have a dialogue back and forth, I'm actually really enjoying reading these comments. I'm also taking my time because I want to go through and I want to read a lot of them, and I really want to take notes to fully understand, and then I'm gonna go back to the word because that's what we should all be doing, because we should all be seeking after our own salvation with fear and trembling, because I'm trying to understand how so many people have come to certain conclusions. Do I disagree with them? No. But I'm not going to read from the stance of having a confirmation bias. I was really trying to understand the logic and how people have made the decisions that they've made. So I'm actually go through with my notes and really slow walk through some things. I'm actually really looking forward to this. It's kind of like a project for me. But yeah, it's been a very interesting conversation. I did expect for people to disagree, but I didn't expect for y'all to be so interesting. I'll say that. But yeah, that's all I got. Because I'm trying to figure out who some of y'all talking to. But, you know, whatever. This is TikTok, and I know most people can say things to you that they would never say if they were sitting across from you. I would ask the question if I was sitting across from you. But I know some of them responses you wouldn't say to me if you were sitting across from me. But hey, you know, I guess everybody, you could tell a tree by the fruit it bears. By the fruit it bears, and some of y'all's fruit looking a little rotten. You may want to go check your tree. A question for Christian Democrats and Christian liberals. And it is a question. So do not come in my comments being feisty. Don't do it, because we're just having a conversation. I genuinely would like to know the thought process, and I genuinely would like to see your answers to this question. How is it that you are able to justify voting for a party that is in direct contradiction to the word of the Most High and his values?
Hi, my name is Evan, with 2 N's. Now, I'm not a Democrat or a liberal, and I avoid Christians at all costs, but I was raised in a very Christian household with a very Christian mother. And one of the things I remember about her the most is when we were little or younger. I was around 16 or 17, and we were moving out of the projects. And my mom recruited a bunch of the kids in the area to help us move. Now, while they were helping us move, I noticed that the bowl full of nickels, quarters, and dimes was gone. And I asked my mom if she knew what happened to it, and she said no. Now, I knew I hadn't taken it, so that only left a few other people, the kids that were helping us move. So I walked up to my very Christian mother, and I said, "Mama, they're stealing from us. They're stealing the change." And my mom, with the harshest and softest voice at the same time, I don't know how she did it, she says, "Shush. Them taking that change isn't going to make us any less or more poor." But she knew that it would make them happy with a little snack that they would buy, and it wouldn't change the world turning. So when I remember that about my mother, rest in peace, and then I see Republicans, conservatives, tell us that we are somehow in danger for feeding poor children for free in school, do whatever they can not to help the poor, not to help the disenfranchised, then that tells me either my mom was being a bad Christian or you are. You have a good one.
I have a question for Christian Democrats and Christian liberals.
Okay, it's interpretations, how you interpret them. Yeah, because I interpret it, and the Bible doesn't say hate anybody. You know, after God's great compromise of giving us Jesus Christ, because he didn't do any more fire, brimstone, floods, anything like that after he gave us Jesus Christ, right? So Jesus Christ was a compromise for God. Because instead of his wrath, he gave us his son to save us, to bring us into more of a loving way of Christianity. And I have been able to confirm it, so as many other people, that man shall not lay with youth is what that one passage used to say. Okay? Now I'm going to be a little vague on purpose. And what happened after those angels touched ground had nothing to do with the decision of that city getting burned. That city was being burned because of sin and greed. Right? Greed and mistreating people is why that city was being condemned. Alright? Transgenders. What? You're going off of Deuteronomy, right? Man shall not wear women's garments. Women shall not wear men's apparel. But back then, everybody fucking dressed the same, so that really doesn't make no sense for that to be in the Bible at all. Seeing on how men wore mini skirts and women wore full-length dresses. So that doesn't make much sense at all. And that's really the only condemning that the Bible gives transgenders. But I know, because I'm not a hateful person, God creates sexually optional people. So no, they're not transgenders. But God creates hermaphrodites. He creates intersex people. He puts this stuff in our DNA. So nearly 1%, almost, actually, nearly 2%. Imagine that, nearly 2% So even though humans want to intervene in God's design, somehow there's still nearly 2% of these God special people, we'll call them. Okay? Now, I know that a lot of people think that biology is simple as X, Y, and XX, and that's it. It's done. But that's not what God gave us. God gave us lots of options. And most people go against God's design and alter that so they resemble one gender or the other. Okay? So, who's really against God's design? Is it the people that want to accept boys that naturally have breasts and women that naturally have testicles? Of course, you got to get rid of the testicles. They usually are cancerous. Or is it the people that cut the breast off and make her a full-on woman? And about the abortion thing, so we'll just go back to doing it muddy water way. That's it. There you go.
How is it that you are able...
I was going to write a comment, like you asked for or whatever, but I realized, one, I was typing too much, and two, that tone kind of gets lost when you're typing. So I figured let me go ahead and just film a response. Hi, I'm Khan. I actually remember you from when I was on Twitter, and I don't want you to think that I'm tussling, because I saw you used to tussle on there from time to time. So I just want you to kind of hear my tone when I say this. First and foremost, I do not identify as Democrat. I've not meaningfully identified as Democrat since about 2016, 2015, somewhere thereabouts. And I think that's actually my first point that I would take a little bit of issue with in the framing of this question, because I don't think that most Christians who vote Democrat necessarily are fanboys of the party. Maybe they are, maybe they're not, right? But I think a lot of, just from, anecdotally talking to Christians, most of them are not super fanboys of the Democratic or the Republican Party, but they do tend to try to vote in a way that will minimize damage. Especially when you're talking about people who look like us, right? You're talking about people who are just trying to minimize the amount of damage that they see in the world. I identify as a leftist, and that's because I believe that the Democratic Party is actually a moderate party, and I think the middle ground between evil and good is still evil. So you have to actually move towards real solutions. If you are wondering why a Christian would vote for the Democratic Party, the answer always lies on the other side of the aisle. And the opposite might too, right? But the answer always lies on the other side of the aisle, right? As a Christian, Jesus, one of the first things he says in Luke, he reads from Isaiah and says that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. I've come to deliver good news to the poor, to those in chains, to those in bondage, right? And I see a party in the Republican Party, right? Because again, I'm not necessarily identifying with the Democratic Party, but I see a party that is anti all of that. That is anti-poor, anti those in chains, anti those sick, anti those who are marginalized, right? And that was the crux of this is what Jesus says when he says the kingdom of heaven is at hand. He goes to the poorest people, the most marginalized people, and says the Spirit of the Lord is at hand. Jesus himself is a refugee. Jesus himself is Palestinian. We know now that has, connotations. Palestinian may not have had a clear connotation back then, but he is marginalized, right? He is a political refugee, right? He's homeless. For a good portion of his, pretty much all of his earthly ministry, he's homeless, right? So Jesus comes and he ministers to those who are on the margins of society. And I see a party that is actively against that, and that is the Republican Party. Jesus, of course, as we talked about, is poor. Jesus also is the Prince of Peace. I see a party that loves war, that craves war, right? There's actively at least 2 to 3 genocides going on right now, depending on who you're talking to. And we have a hand in almost all of them, which is really wild, right? And the Republican Party is largely fine, if not actively supporting or actively pushing for those to ramp up. And so as a Christian, I know you asked the question, how do you see, how can a Christian vote for the Democratic Party? I think a lot of us are thinking the same thing. Right? Do you not see the genocides, right? Police brutality, right? Which Republicans are largely in favor for, right? And that might seem like, ooh, that's an overstatement. It's really not, right? Because any sort of measure to stop doing something, to stop when it comes to attacks on black and brown people by the police, they've pretty much stopped. So one can assume at this point that they're in favor of it. You mentioned the Democrats being in favor of changing the gender or changing the sex of children that were created in the image of God. While one, and I don't think there's a lot of facts backing that up, that most Democrats want to change the gender of children, but like more importantly, right, when we talk about race, you're talking about people made in the Imago Dei, right? How can I support a party on the other side of the aisle, right? How can I support a party that I feel like is against the Imago Dei, right? That constantly attacks people who are made in the image of God, that wants me to be less black, wants you to be less black, right? I know your question wasn't so much, do I support the Republican Party? But again, it's not so much that I'm supporting the Democrats, is that I am against what I see over there. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is LGBTQ rights as well as abortion, right? Because a lot of Christians take issue with that. And I totally understand having a biblical sexual ethic. Totally 100% understand that. Here is how I process it, right? As a Christian, as a straight man, right? I understand uncomfortability with people who are LGBTQ, right? I'm Christian, I'm Christian, I'm straight, and I'm half Jamaican. So I get it. I get the uncomfortability. But one, first and foremost, like, these are still people that I have to minister to. These are people who still need the gospel, right? Like, so my uncomfortability cannot supersede the earthly mission that Jesus has placed us on. Even bigger than that, right? If you are anti-gay sex, if you are anti-trans people, right? Like, which is kind of a crazy thing. But like, let's say you're just anti all of those things, right? You're anti-abortion. Let's talk about the files, right? And you know the files I'm talking about. And that might feel like I am nitpicking, but here's the deal. The files are a thing everybody know about, everybody's talking about, and they're actively like, what do you mean it's not here? None of us are actually in here. They're very clearly playing around with the files. And that's of a publicly known nasty man who targeted children, right? If that is the sort of thing that Republicans will cover up, and we all saw it, right? Like, we all know who the nasty man is, right? With the nasty island. We all know who that man is. What kind of stuff is happening behind the scenes, right? It is a proven fact, and Grindr, which is the gay dating app, has released these results that whenever the RNC is in town, their numbers shoot straight up, right? So my perspective of this, right? There's countless transgender people. Laverne Cox just got in trouble, in trouble, right? Canceled, whatever. She's not canceled. Nobody gets canceled. But like, Laverne Cox just got into a whole thing because she was dating a MAGA white man, right? And she was quiet about it. So my thing is, if you're anti-gay sex, if you're anti all of these things, the Republicans are still doing these things. They just are quieter about it. Their goal isn't so much for these things to not happen, because we know abortions happened even before it was like legal, and it still happens even though it's not, even though it's illegal, right? It's just a matter of only the people up here get to do it, and that the people who are involved have fewer rights. That's the only meaningful difference that I see, is that the people involved have fewer rights. So if you want less gay sex, I don't think that it's going to come from you voting for the Republican Party. It's just going to be more dead gay guys. If you want fewer people to be sleeping with trans women, I don't think that's going to come with the Republican Party. It's just going to be more dead trans women. That's it. So that's how I can vote for a Democrat. Now, like, again, I have tons of issues with Democrats, right? Like, that we have not even gotten into yet. And there's some Democrats I'm like, hey, please get them out of here. When we talk about the files, with the nasty man files, and people saying that Bill Clinton might be in the files, release the files. I don't care. Burn the whole block down. What are we talking about, right? Like, so there's a lot that I have issue with in the Democratic Party, but in short, as short as 8 minutes and 30 seconds can be, that's why I think a Christian can vote for.
I have a question for Christian Democrats and Christian liberals, and it is a question.
So I think I have an answer for you. Now, I'm a super ultra leftist. So far left that I have no party and I say fuck the Overton window. I'm a Norse pagan omnist now. Omnist is someone who believes in the existence of all gods. Yours, mine, theirs, over theirs, under theirs, every god that was, is, and shall be. I was raised in white supremacy, Christian nationalism, conservative, as a Protestant and Catholic. Yes, my family reunions were fun. Now, what I've noticed, when it comes to the Democrat, liberal Christians, they're very New
This is all I
Testament.
got from this video, and there is something I need to say. I love to see black people that will come out to ask some questions to black people, black Christian, right? And then talk all the talk they want to talk and not tell you that they are Republican. It's really amazing. Being more Christian actually isn't about Republican or Democrat. It's about living out. It's about the values of Jesus Christ, the love he shared. And I just do not understand the humility, the humanity, the justice, the love your neighbor as thyself. That's one of the reasons why I keep saying this here, that I have seen so many Republicans that said that they are Christian, but they cannot convert me. Because if I follow their teaching or their footstep, I will not be moved to become maybe a Christian or a better person and all that, because they are not following the teaching of Christ. In my own word, this is just how I feel, and you are also entitled to feel however you feel. But one thing I know for sure is that being good is not something that is hidden, or when you are truthful, it is not hidden, especially when you can see that this is yellow and you are able to tell people that this is yellow, than people that will see this and say this is not yellow, this is green, and then try to tell you why it is green in their eyes. The truth is that we can actually separate religion and government. And we can actually also separate being good from bad. Because I don't know how all of a sudden being a Christian become very political. Now she is asking, why is it that you said you are this thing of a party of this and that, but you are supporting transgender. But then where did it in your Bible? I hope you guys have Bible that it says, love your neighbor as thyself. So you guys, it is okay. Now the truth is that it is okay for them to love people that unalive people than love people that love the same people. I don't know how to say this, but you understand where I am coming from. People that are not harming you, because I even rarely see news of all these people that they are so much that they disgust in their own way. Those people disgust them, right? But most of the things going on in the world, I do not see them being involved or being the people doing those things. But it is those people that they say they are the good people are the ones doing it. Like the pastors that they believe so much in. I posted a video yesterday on Simnaya about a pastor that used to be the head of government, spiritual director, that what he did to a child. And there was a comment that I saw in that on that post that said that children has been the most molested. And I concur, because children, some of them do not talk. Some of them do not. Oh God, the trauma that some children are carrying around is just so much. So the people that they have so much high, I don't know how to say it, like, people that they put in so much high places, the Republicans are the ones doing all the bad things. They're the ones in their own words, they have Christian values, but they are the ones unaliving people. The last I checked, you rarely see Arabs and all that, and like all these people doing it, but it's always the straight white male doing it. And you guys have never for a day sat down. And the worst part is that the ones that said that they are Christ-like and they believe God so much. I am sure you all may have heard stories about all of them, allegedly, J.D. Vance and the rest, being part of the things they criticize. You know, one thing I want to tell people, just do good, live right, and you are good to go. Whether there is heaven or no heaven or something, just live right. Love people, like love your neighbors, but do not be stupid enough to love people that do not love you, especially when they do not want you around. You should be very sensitive to know that this person doesn't like me, maybe as a black man or as a black woman, to know when to and when not to. It's as simple as that. While you are also trying to be Christian, you should also use your number 6. I appreciate you all. Bye for now.